Hello, my name is Richard Haight, and today I'd like to talk about the reason. So I received a number of emails with the different questions stating different issues and challenges on the awakening path. But when you look at them honestly at the fundamental principle underlying most of them, the issue is the same. People ask, how can I have more confidence in my life? And how can I make progress in the spiritual path? But in order to make progress, you have to actually identify who is your master. To whom are you slave? There's some very simple questions one can ask. Do you feel truly comfortable in your skin? Are you able to live fully, authentically? To express fully and authentically? Is your heart as light as a feather? Very few people can answer yes to those questions. So the question is, why not? Are those things complicated? The reason we can't is because fear is our master. Awakening is the mastery of fear, in large part. In large part. Is fear your master, is the question. And for me, I can say for a large portion of my life, fear was my master. I did self-censor. I did hesitate to speak honestly. There may be a time in your life when you are too overcome by fear. It may be now. You don't feel you can speak honestly. Not honestly the words of other people that you've inherited and unconsciously believed. I mean, honestly, in a way that brings about a long-lasting atmosphere of peace within and around you that allows other people to feel comfortable in their skin and speak and think honestly. Pay attention to your life. How often do you find yourself self-censoring against conscience? That's the key point. How often do you find yourself self-censoring against conscience? If you're doing that, then fear is your master. I've had people, survival experts and skydivers and martial artists who are, by all external rights, fearless, but who do self-censor against conscience. It's because they're not fearless. You see, there's something that we fear more than physical risk. We fear social ostracization. We fear being kicked out of the group, being left alone. We fear the names people might call us. But you look at almost any of the sages of the past, with few exceptions, they were called names. They were not socially accepted. Now, of course, they lived in times when maybe there wasn't freedom of speech. You look at Jesus, he explicitly states that his teachings are not for the masses, that he teaches in parables to the masses to hide the teachings. And the teachings are only for those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear. He was veiling his teachings, and In theory, even his own disciples did not understand his teachings because they could not understand his parables, and Jesus was surprised. Again, only those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear can catch this. Even if I state it directly, only those who have the eyes to see and the ears to hear can truly catch it. But as subtle as this is, the awakening process, veiling it makes it ever that more difficult. Consciously veiling it, hiding it, not speaking honestly or directly about it, it makes it that much more difficult. Now, there's a reason that Jesus had to do it that way. There was not freedom of speech at that time. He couldn't say that we are all one with all that is and not be killed immediately. So for his mission, he hid that teaching and couldn't be direct about it. Of course, fine. In the end, according to the story, he was crucified, but he got 3 years of teaching in up to that point, which would have been about a day had he been direct about it initially. But you don't have that excuse. I don't have that excuse. We don't have that excuse. We live in a society that still does have freedom of speech. For now. You see, we've taken some deep steps into the collapse process. People might not recognize it because it sort of happens over a gradual period of time. But we're right now on the precipice of something very, very important, which is losing freedom of speech. Not yet by law, but through self-censorship. From fear, we're afraid to speak out even though we won't be killed for it. We're afraid to speak out because someone might call us a bad name. I've been called bad names for asking questions. Conscientious questions, important questions. I just don't care. So long as you care what people think about you, especially so long as you care what people think about you who are not even living in authentic ways, who are living arrogantly, you are completely slave to fear. That is being asleep. There's nothing awake about that. Many people who you believe are your allies may not be. If you feel hesitant to speak honestly around them, it's because you fear their judgment. You fear their condemnation. And that is not the act of an enlightened individual, nor is it the act of a loving individual, nor is it the act of a friend. You should be able to have honest conversations in your relationships. If you find that your relationships are not authentic, now is the time to start challenging that, to begin having an authentic relationship with people. Because if you conform to an inauthentic relationship, it will warp your inner space. It will warp your mind, and pretty soon your thinking will become corrupted. If it isn't already, of course. For me, it was already, and I had to uncorrupt the thinking process, which is really what the awakening process is in large part about. You have a social contract with those around you, with your friends, with your employer. It's not a written contract. It's just an assumed way in which you will think and behave and speak. And it's based on how you have thought, behaved, and spoke in the past, which means you're not allowed to change. You are wrong if you break that contract. Now, this isn't the case, but there are some individuals, these are the people that you really want to be close with, who are eager for you to grow, eager for the greatest potential within you to emerge, for you to awaken. And they're eager to do that with you. Seek those people out. Be one of those people and allow people to gravitate to you. And what you will find, the more authentic you become, those people that will condemn you, those people that will judge you, those people that don't want to make changes, they'll start to move away. and people that are authentic, who have courage to face the master of fear and then to become the master of fear. To step out of their slavery, those people will gravitate towards you. Life can be lived authentically with those individuals. But we got to start in here. How often do you self-censor? How often do you fail to question your own beliefs? How many of your beliefs have been inherited from others without question? Can you ask those questions and not be judged? Can you look at those beliefs and not feel like a heretic? If you can't, then you're imprisoned in the mind. You're imprisoned by fear. Your master is fear. You are a slave. You need to break this cycle that your brain is stuck in, which is fear-based. It doesn't allow you to look beyond the edges of that fear. It doesn't allow you to question it, and it doesn't allow you to speak honestly. If you look at society now, you will see that there's a big chill. People are afraid to speak honestly. People are afraid to question. People are afraid to look at the details of situations for fear that they will be judged harshly, that they will be ostracized, they will be deplatformed, which is a common thing now. They might lose their job. You might go to jail. Possibly there may be violence against you, and depending on the country in which you live. That's the progression that will occur in this country, in the United States, and other countries with which fear is the master. And that's not just a societal problem, that's the individual's problem. The awakening soul, the awakening individual understands that the beneficial change begins here. You need to live in a way which you are truly comfortable in your skin, to which your word authentically represents the inner space. That which is transcendent is not slave to fear. If you're having trouble awakening, look towards authenticity. Look to fear. See the fear as it's been causing hesitation in your life. And little by little, move away from fear and towards authenticity. An authenticity that emanates from every cell in the body, that emanates from the space around you. And begin to live your life with a heart as light as a feather. We are in the collapse, what I describe as the apocalypse, but understand that apocalypse is breaking down, is the total breakdown of false structures to reveal that which is true beneath. You can see the mass corruption in government, in both political parties. All you need to do is look. You can see it in the school system. You can see it on the internet. You can see it in large corporations. Can you see it in yourself? See, it's easy to see it in all those other places. Can you see it in yourself? That's the beginning. I'm not Christian. I don't identify as Christian, but there are certain teachings of Jesus that are very, very, very insightful and helpful. He describes the sliver in the other's eye versus the beam in your own. We want to pick the sliver out of the other person's eye without addressing the beam or the log in our own eye. the tendency is to correct other people first, and before we even look at the more hideous issues that we may have within ourselves. First, work with this. And then maybe we can be of some useful guidance externally. But this is first. I've been through the process of fear. I self-censored for a long time, so I understand what it feels like. It feels utterly horrible not to be able to be authentic. If you're living in a way that is fear-based, if you're unable to speak honestly, if you're self-censoring, you feel small and weak. You feel small and weak, even if you can skydive, even if you can climb Mount Everest, even if you can get in a ring and knock somebody out. It doesn't impress me at all. And it doesn't impress me because in the deepest level of you, it doesn't impress you. All that is just window covering. I'm not saying there isn't some value to being able to face external fears. There is. But that's sort of a child's approach to fear. That's the first step. Once you start to deal with fear on the external, then you have to turn that lens internally and deal with the fear in here. Deal with the ways in which you're self-censoring. Deal with the discomfort and the smallness, the weakness within here that is not allowing you to speak authentically and to live authentically in a clear way that isn't dictated by what you've been taught, but has been revealed through you from the deepest place within. So this message goes out to many people, many emails, and I haven't been able to reply to everybody, to be honest. There are many questions of many different types, and this message is to deal with a large swath of those emails. And so what I'm hoping to hear from you, I'd love to hear, part of the awakening process is to be authentic, and it is to speak what's going on within. So speak it out. In what way are you self-censoring? In what way are you not comfortable in your skin? When do you find yourself feeling small and weak? Send me an email. Share with me. I'd love to hear it. If you have specific questions, specific circumstances that are difficult, share with me. Again, you're not obligated to be authentic in every moment. I don't go around and tell this to just anybody. And it's not that I'm self-censoring. I just recognize that there's some people who simply are not going to get what I'm saying. They just won't be open to it. So it would be a waste of time. So what I'm talking about is being authentic in a way that is in alignment with conscience. So when my conscience speaks, now is the time to speak. I need to speak, even if I'm worried that the other person won't accept it. In many cases, my conscience recognizes this person is not going to be open to this. It won't be of any benefit to speak now. That's not what I mean. That's not a defiance of conscience. That won't make you small and weak. That's just wisdom. That's awareness. But there are many times when you do need to speak. And your conscience will tell you. So let me know when those are. When is it we need to speak? And we know we need to speak, but we're not. When do you feel small and weak inside? And what do you feel is causing that feeling of smallness and weakness? And if you have any questions, because this really is a maze, and it can be quite confusing and befuddling early on, because this isn't really about the intellect. It's about feelings that cause compulsions and urges, fear. And it's a kind of fog that we will feel lost within, a heaviness, a fog, a confusion, a desire to run away inside that has caused us to go to sleep. Awakening process isn't about being safe. It's about living. And in living in life, there's danger. So I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Bye-bye.